Hi guys, so my name is Shanique and I want to start a vlog called Unique Faith where basically I'm going to talk about my unique journey with God. And the reason I created this channel is just to encourage people that's young to know that you don't have to wait till you get older to love God. You can be young, lit, and you can still love God. And I don't mean lit in the sense of turning up like drunk lit, but you can still have a personality. You can still be fun. You can still enjoy your youth and enjoy your life, and you can still love God. It's room to do both. And so I'm just going to talk about my personal journey in hopes that it will encourage somebody, because I know when I was starting off my journey, I felt like I didn't have people my age that I could connect with. Most of the people that I connected with were mentors and were older than me, and they were already over that like party turn up life. So in a lot of ways I didn't feel that they understood being young and like getting to know God and going after a relationship with God. So I just decided to vlog about it. Plus I had people that were interested in my journey, so hey, I'm just going to go ahead and tell you guys a little bit about it. So today what I'm going to talk about is my journey with God. And I'm trying to, I have like so much to talk about because I love talking about God. So I could be forever, but I'm going to condense it for the sake of the video. I don't want this to be like a 45-minute video. So I'm going to just tell you guys about myself. I grew up in the church. I grew up PK. Dad was a pastor. Mom was a minister. I was in church Sunday to Sunday, prayer meeting, Bible study, shut-ins, revivals, up all night for Jesus. Every church event, you name it, I was there because I had to go. Sometimes we would be in church on Sundays for 2 or 3 services. And I was just in church. And I was like, yo, when I get older, I'm going to take a break from church. I ain't going to be in here like this because I'm in church all the time. That's what I thought when I was younger. But yeah, so I grew up with that kind of background. And even though I had dad as a pastor, they still allowed me to be young and experience things. Like, they didn't shut me off from the world. I think they wanted it to be my choice. Of course, I didn't have a choice on serving God and believing in God, but I don't think they wanted to be so strict where I would rebel like a lot of people we see, where it's just like you have a child and you just force it on them so much that they end up rebelling for a period of time. So I still was like what I consider a regular teenager. I got to still experience normal things. But I did go astray from the church. After a while, I just felt like it wasn't for me. I just felt like I was just going just to go. I wasn't getting anything out of it. I wasn't growing. And it could be because I wasn't trying to get nothing out of it, but I was just like, I'm just going just to go. I might as well not go. And so when I went to college, that was a perfect opportunity to not go anymore. So I had stopped going to church. I was turning up in the mix, life of the party, smoking, drinking, just pretty much just doing me. I was not concerned with church and church things. I kind of relied on my parents' faith and their prayers to get me through. I didn't have my own relationship with God. It was a period of time where I didn't even know if I believed that God was real, because I felt like I didn't see any evidence of it. So what led me to that point was my sophomore year in college. I remember getting a phone call. Well, I was getting some messages on Instagram from my childhood best friend's older sister, where she was just telling me like, hey, call me. So I thought it was strange, but I ended up calling her, and that's when any ounce of faith or hope that I had was shattered. I called her, and she basically told me that my best friend had died in a car accident. And it was just like, it was just like somebody had took their hand, went into my chest, and took my heart out. And I didn't want to feel any pain. So I would just smoke weed, because when I would smoke, I wouldn't be able to cry. For some reason, I believed that crying was like a sign of weakness, so I didn't want to cry. But I didn't understand it. She was an amazing person. She was an honor roll student, a valedictorian, smart, disciplined, a great person. And I just felt like if this deserved to happen to anybody, she should have been the last person that something like this happened to. She believed in God too, and I couldn't understand why God didn't stop this from happening. Why, God, since he knows everything, how come he couldn't have kept her asleep that morning, or had her go a different way, or intervene in some way? I just couldn't understand. And so I carried around grief. One night while at college, I got really drunk, and basically my boyfriend at the time, which is now my husband, he was telling me how I was blacking out, and I was just saying that I hated God and I didn't believe in him, and just a lot of awful things, because that's just where I was. And so that was like the first instance where I started really, really getting away from God. The second thing was, after I graduated college, I was going out to be a police officer, and I'm like the type of person where anything that I've ever tried to achieve in my life, I've always accomplished it. I didn't know how it felt to not accomplish something, because I would work hard. I have a personality where it's like, by any means, I would literally do whatever it took to get where I needed to go. And that's what I did. And so when I didn't get in, and the reasoning behind it, I couldn't understand it. And I put all my eggs in that one basket. So I had made plans based off of being a police officer for my life. And a couple of months after that, my car had burned up. And that's how I was making my money. And so I just felt like, and I also was betrayed by a relative. In those 3 months, I felt like I lost everything. I was on a downward slope, and I didn't fall into depression, but I was very close to it. And I was just the type of person that I was the strong friend. So no one knew when I was going through stuff. People would just be like, oh, I know you're going to be cool. I know you're going to bounce back. But nobody really knew the toll it took on me. And yeah, I was really in a dark place. I didn't want to hear any encouragement. I didn't want to hear that God had a better plan for me. I was just like, well, can he let me in on his plan? I was like, I was just very, very, very in a negative space. And there was one morning where my husband was going to his family church, and somehow I end up going with them. I don't know why, but I was like, okay. And literally that morning, I was said to God, like, if you real, I need you to do something today that shows me that you're real. Literally. I don't know if I expected him to do something or not, but that was my attitude. Just like, if you're real, I need you to do something. And he definitely did something. So I went to church, and this was 2 years ago. So I went to the service. I ended up at the altar, and the pastor, who was also a prophet. So this was my first time seeing prophecy, seeing spiritual gifts. I could have been around it, but before, I didn't pay any attention to it if I was around it. So to me, this was my first time seeing spiritual gifts and seeing someone operate and prophecy and word of knowledge and word of wisdom. And wow, it was an overwhelming feeling. So I was at the altar, and the pastor had literally looked at me, and it's like he read my whole life, like page by page. He knew so much. He knew about how I felt about not getting this career and not working. He knew that I was betrayed by someone. He knew how I felt when I didn't describe it to anybody. He was just like, it's a heaviness around you. I can feel it. And he was going in. And he also had prophesied to me that don't worry about a job because I was going to get one. And he just started telling me how God seen me. And it was overwhelming. I fell to the ground. I was crying. I was screaming. And like, this is not something that I would have done. Like I said, I don't really like showing, well, at the time, I didn't like showing my feelings. So for me to just fall and be crying in front of all these people that I didn't know, it was crazy. And, but I felt like something was lifted, literally lifted off of me. I can tell you the way I went and the way I left was completely different. And just these women started coming up to me, and they were just pouring into me, and I just really felt God's love. I felt like God had just came and just put his arms around me and just was telling me that he cared about me, and just telling me that he seen me for who I was. And that was the start of my journey of discovering my own relationship with God, and it's been an amazing journey. I have so many different things to talk about. I was celibate. I got married. I have a lot to talk about, and I'm gonna break it up. So I will be uploading another video. Probably my next video, I'll probably be talking about my celibacy journey, because that was a journey, okay? Okay. But oh man, just being on this journey with God has been amazing. And the purpose of me sharing this is just to encourage someone that might have that question that I had, like, is God real? I just want to encourage you, and I just want to tell you that God is real, that God cares about you, that God loves you, that he is not a distant God, but he is a God that's right there. He lives within you, and he literally wants the best for you. And I don't want anyone to believe into the lies that I believed when I was going through, that God didn't care about me, that God just was sitting on his throne and just didn't care about my life. I mean, he cares about every detail. On my journey, when I started praying, and I started praying for specific things. I started praying for like friends, people that I could relate to, people. That was one of my desires, just having someone that I could talk to about what I was going through, how I was at a crossroads in conflict with my own self,